Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
Today's warehouse needs to keep inventory moving smoothly and quickly. Meet these challenges with on-demand warehouse labeling from Brother Mobile Solutions. Our mobile and industrial printers will help optimize your operations to achieve the speed, reliability, and durability your warehouse needs. With easy integration for existing warehouse technology, convenient portability, and upfront affordability, Brother Mobile Solutions is at your side when it comes to warehouse labeling. Try one for free today by visiting brothermobilesolutions.com/new warehouse or click the link in the show notes. That's brothermobilesolutions.com/new warehouse to try one for free today.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. And on today's episode, I am joined by Erhan Musaoglu. He is the CEO and founder at Logiwa. And Logiwa has a WMS system, warehouse management system. And we're going to talk about Logiwa, talk a little bit about how he came to found the company, start the company, dive into the current state of WMS. And we're also going to talk about AI in our industry, in our space. We know that AI is being talked about very broadly in all industries and all aspects of life, pretty much, I think, at this point. But we really want to focus in and try and get from Erhan's perspective, where does AI fall into our warehousing and fulfillment categories, and what's realistically really happening with AI? Because I think there's a lot of big ideas out there, but we're going to see, what's really on the ground now, what is happening. So, Erhan, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks, Kevin. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for having me here in your podcast.
Definitely happy to have you on. Definitely happy to talk to you further about this discussion around AI. But why don't we start off with Logiwa in general? We know it's WMS that's out there, right, in the world. But give us a little, brief description about Logiwa from your perspective, and tell us a little bit too about, how and why you came to found this company.
You already described a little bit, Logiwa is a WMS. Actually, we don't like to call it a WMS. It's more like a fulfillment software
excuse
now.
Me. Sorry.
Yeah, WMS reminds like those old days, 2 decades, 3 decades ago. I will explain why, but we call it a fulfillment software for high volume direct-to-consumer fulfillment. Why we created the company, actually, 2 decades ago, we were reselling and implementing tier 1 legacy WMS systems for really large B2B names or B2B for B2B fulfillment.
Okay.
At some point, there was this e-commerce company, and they asked us to implement the tier 1 legacy WMS system into their warehouse, or let's say fulfillment center. We tried, but it was taking a long time. We are talking years, not even months or weeks.
Oh, wow.
Because these legacy systems designed 4 decades, 5 decades ago to solve the warehouse management problem, which is more like storage of pallets and then shipping in bulk. Whereas today's world is a little bit different, especially e-commerce and direct-to-consumer. We are talking really small orders and really high volume, thousands, 10,000, 100,000 of orders. And after realizing that B2B and direct-to-consumer are totally 2 different business models, we decided to develop our own, let's call it fulfillment software. And just to give people a little bit explanation what I mean, let's say you are shipping this pen from your warehouse. If you are shipping 10,000 pen or pencil from your warehouse. In a B2B environment, you are one forklift driver pulling out 2 pallets, putting in a truck. You shipped 10,000 pencils already.
Right.
In the direct-to-consumer, most probably 10,000 pencils means 8,000 different orders,
Right.
8,000 different customers, 8,000 shipping labels, and you need at least, let's say, 50 people to pick, pack, and ship these pencils. So one is very labor-intensive, and thinking of today's labor problems, like definitely these are 2 different business models, and we need different type of solutions for especially e-commerce or direct-to-consumer. And when it comes to footprint of Logiwa, we have customers in 18 countries now, including US, Asia, and Europe. So yeah, we are mainly focusing on high-volume direct-to-consumer e-commerce fulfillment businesses.
Very interesting, and I think it's interesting that 2 decades ago, you recognized that problem. And obviously, it was a good problem to go after with the way that e-commerce has grown and exploded, especially over the last just couple of years now. I mean, I think it makes total sense to do that. Yeah.
We defined the problem 1 decade ago. We have been implementing and reselling 2 decades, but 1 decade ago, we realized the problem and we built Logiwa.
Well, even so, I mean, 10 years, I mean, there's been a huge boom, right, in e-commerce that we've seen, right? So definitely in a good spot to be in from that perspective and tailoring to that market. I mean, I think with that being said, I mean, even as you look at 10 years ago, seeing that, these tier 1 legacy systems, as you mentioned, were not necessarily built to be able to handle this different type of management or problem set that was out there for, higher volume amount of orders. Like you said, a lot more data points, a lot more touches, a lot more shipping labels, packing, everything to the nth degree, right? So if you look at that and now you look at the current landscape that we're in here, 10 years later, what do you think is the current state of WMS? I mean, we see lots of solutions out there. I mean, there's certainly the tier 1 players that have been around for a long time, but we see a lot of things popping up, startups around software and all these things, and lots of different acronyms too, aside from WMS, I'll say now, right? But what do you think from your perspective? I mean, what is that current state of WMS? What does WMS look like? What does it even mean at this point?
Great question. I don't like the terminology of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, actually. It used to be like that, but it is changing very fast. And I will explain, maybe if we have time, I can explain why.
Sure. Yeah.
Also, there are a lot of different names for WMS as well, like WMS, WES, WCS. And now I am making a new definition, which is a fulfillment platform or fulfillment software, not a WMS. As I said, for me, WMS is to solve storage problem and bulk shipment. Okay. Fulfillment software, the main difference between a WMS and a fulfillment software is WMS is all about storing and shipping bulk. Fulfillment is not storing. You don't want to store anything in the fulfillment. You just want to ship faster and faster. If the products are staying in your warehouse, it's not good for your business, right? So this is 2 different mentality. But let me try to explain the current state of the WMS as of today.
Sure.
Let's approach from different angles. First angle, let's talk about the technology that we are using today. If you look at the technology, I can tell you 80% of the WMS systems at the moment in the market are on-premise legacy solutions. Like they are still on-premise. They have to install a server into your warehouse and you run on that server, which is a huge maintainability problem, actually. The rest, let's say, I call it fake cloud. Like they are on the cloud, but you still have your dedicated, customized environment for yourself. Okay. And you are a unique installation, means that if you demand a feature or if you have a requirement, they have to do it for yourself. And the third one, which we started seeing recently, is the true cloud, which is one product with one URL and just one release. That solves a specific problem. Because one of the, let's just walk to the next angle, which is the mindset. If you look at the mindset of the WMS players at the moment, there are players who say, oh, I can do everything for you. I can do food, I can do B2B, I can do project deliveries, subscription. I guess we are coming to an end for this, hey, I can do everything for you type of custom project type of WMS systems. Because when you approach these guys, they just let you sit on a table and try to define the project, which is going to take 1 year. And each and every time you request something, they have to develop it for you, and they're going to send you a huge bill. So what we started seeing, actually, at least Logiwa, what Logiwa is, we are a product company. We built a product to solve a specific problem, which is high volume, direct to consumer. And if you look at from that angle, anyone doing e-commerce, they download their orders, they pick orders, pack them, print a label, and give it to carriers, FedEx, UPS. This is a business problem and flow that we solve. So that's why we call ourselves a product rather than a custom project. And we just have one version for all the customers. If we develop a feature or a new module or functionality, we just let all customers use it in next release. And we can release every month. So this is a mindset change. Instead of, hey, let's just do it together. Hey, we have a solution for your problem. Use it. And this is time to value as well, because they can start using the software as in a very short term, like 6 months, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, they can be live and use the software because it solves a specific problem. The third angle is user experience. Right. We all remember that black and white screens on the handheld devices, and it was limited. It is changing now. What we are seeing, at least what we do, is a modern application, a modern handheld application that looks like a social media, because all the warehouse employees now use LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. Right. So if you look at our new WMS UX or UI, it's like a social application. Everyone can use it and everyone can learn it very fast. And it gives you a lot of flexibility as well. The fourth one is the connections. Like 10 years ago, we had to build or develop each and every integration. If you want to connect with Amazon or Shopify, still the legacy systems, you have to build the integration for each and every customer. Whereas now we are seeing a lot of plug and play integrations. At least we have 200 integrations that are plug and play. Right. You just enter the username and the system starts downloading orders, pushing inventory. This is also a big game changer for WMS industry, actually. And the last one is the difference between fulfillment and WMS systems. We should really look at a fulfillment system for our e-commerce business, not a WMS, because then you have to do a lot of development and customization.
Yeah, very interesting points there. And I think, I'm interested in where you said that, you sit down with these, legacy systems, I guess you would say, and, you talk to them and you want to do this implementation and it's customization, all this customization. So, tell us maybe, and I think this is probably still a challenge, right? One of the big things I think for companies is they're looking to, potentially update systems or change systems, or, they've been afraid to do that because of those big, long, customization processes, implementations taking a long time, implementations not going well, the kind of the old saying, I guess, of, it's not broke, so why fix it, right? That whole thing. But tell us a little bit from your perspective, because I'm sure you probably have a lot of conversations like this, or your team has a lot of conversations like this with potential customers. How can people start to feel more comfortable with the idea of, yes, we can update our system more often, and we don't have to be scared of implementation. We don't have to be fearful that the whole supply chain is going to break, right, if this one customization doesn't go right or something like that.
Let's split the question into two parts.
Sure.
One, let's talk about the 3PLs or 4PLs or fulfillment networks, which is easier to implement. Difficult to implement, but easier to convince. The other part is like brands, manufacturers, and etc. that are doing their own fulfillment. When you look at these customers for both segments, the problem is first, they paid already millions of dollars for these legacy systems to implement. They spent 2 years, and they think when they implement another system, it's going to take another 2 years. This is the main core fear. But on the other hand, there's an opportunity that they are missing, which is they still pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to these systems to maintain them. They are not sustainable. I'm not talking green sustainable. They are not sustainable for your business because every month they send you a huge invoice because they have to do a lot of development. Every time you ask something, they just return back to you with development. So this is the opportunity that they are missing. Because if you look at the problem, especially from a 3PL perspective or 4PL that are doing e-commerce fulfillment, because this is where my expertise comes actually. The problem is how fast you are shipping your orders. For example, if you look at across my customer portfolio, 82% of my customers are shipping, across my customers, 82% of the orders shipped in less than 20 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
This is very fast. If you are shipping slower, then you are losing money because the game is time to value. And if your old legacy system is causing you to ship slower, then you are losing your money. What we do for 3PLs is, they have clients. It's so easy for us. We just take over one client and show them the progress, show them the benchmark of 2 systems, how they can ship faster. And then if we can convince them, we roll out to other clients. It's a little bit easier with 3PLs actually because of the nature of the 3PLs. They have clients, and you just replace one client and benchmark with the rest of the operation. For e-commerce and the retailers or brands, it's a little bit difficult because they have tight integrations. We again try to show them time to value, how fast we can do the implementation, and also how we can change their shipments, like how fast they can ship to their consumers, because it's all about the time actually. And it's a race between two brands. If you are not shipping on time, or if you are not shipping same day, next day, or even in 2 days, then you are losing your customers. This is how we approach the problem. And usually we ask for order data. They provide us the order data, and we use our AI algorithms to optimize and batch orders and show them, even before starting the project, show them the productivity improvement that we can bring in.
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, I think that's really good to be able to see that almost predictive kind of analytics in a sense, right? Of how, the efficiency improvement is going to be there. I mean, it's always good to understand it. I think that certainly probably makes a lot of people feel a little more comfortable, right? Taking on something new, right? And adopting that change and things like that. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, I think that's a kind of a perfect segue there into our additional discussion here around AI in general, right? I mean, it sounds like you guys are utilizing AI, but I mean, I think as we look and, we look at the landscape of, I think just life in general at this point, right? AI is mentioned everywhere. It's had like a sudden huge boom in the last year with ChatGPT and all these things coming to the forefront. But, I think oftentimes, I mean, for me, like a lot of people are asking like, oh, how are you using AI in the warehouse? Like, how are you using AI in supply chain and all these things, right? So I mean, from your perspective, as AI has taken the spotlight, essentially, I think in the world from a tech standpoint, where do you see that AI has a place and a fit within the warehousing and fulfillment industry and space?
Actually, thanks for this great question.
Sure.
Let's just start with today. Everyone is using AI as a term, but I am not sure how many of these projects or these solutions are AI. Most probably we are talking mathematical optimization or maybe a little bit machine learning, but not the real AI. So I was with my engineers last week, actually the entire week, and it was all about new AI projects, brainstorming what we can do for the warehouses. And we put together 42 projects that can be done with AI in the warehouses. But this 42 project is going to take 10 years for us, most probably, to develop. So as of today, what we do in the warehouses from an AI point of view is, first of all, we use AI for outbound flow optimization, picking and packing. Because the problem is, if you are shipping 10,000 orders from your warehouse, knowing that you have approximately 10,000 bins or locations in the warehouse and more than 100,000 products, and you every day you ship 10,000 orders. This problem is not solvable by human brain. Even the mathematical approaches doesn't work here in most of the cases. So we use AI to do order batching, putting like similar orders together. Also, walking path optimization. And the most important thing is employee assignment, because our algorithms, our application collects all the user behaviors, user activity and motion in the warehouse. How they scan, how many seconds, how they walk, how they put the product into the bin. We track everything. And based on the data that we are collecting, we are creating labor standards. And then we are creating also employees' own standards and behavior and pattern in the warehouse. By using that, we are assigning right employees to right tasks. Plus, we are also tracking anomaly, which is, hey, if a user is doing 20% less than the other for a specific function, our AI algorithm understands it and gives suggestions how to fix that. Makes sense? Per that specific employee. This is actually live. We went live last week with this project, and it is working at the moment. But it's, thank you. It's a huge project. Of course, it will continue. We will add more functionality. But we selected outbound optimization because the biggest problem in the e-commerce now is the outbound optimization. Especially labor productivity is our huge concern nowadays, knowing that the labor markets are really tough, finding employees, and the turnover rate is really high. So we are using AI for outbound optimization and labor standards and benchmarking. The other one is robotics. I mean, we don't use it, but the robotics companies are really using very strong AI algorithms to optimize the walking paths in the warehouse. Predictive analytics, which is demand forecasting, inventory optimization. We use demand forecasting as well to predict the labor utilization. Also, return forecasting is very important when you look at from predictive analytics point of view. One interesting topic is product and state identification. Especially in returns and resale, you have to identify the product by taking the photo of the product and send it to the stores and channels. Like AI has a good usage there. Also, the quality of the product. When you receive something, like with one photo, you can just know if the product is damaged or what type of damage. This is also providing a lot of productivity for us. The last one, I can say safety. Especially forklift safety and all type of safety in the warehouse. These are in place already. The warehouses are using these AI algorithms at the moment in the real life.
Yeah. And I think it's like very interesting. And I think that, one of the big questions around AI, which was, I think one of the same questions around robotics a couple of years ago was, is AI going to come in and take away jobs and positions, right? But I think in the examples you've given there, especially the one that you guys have live already, like as you said right there in the beginning, when you start to look at these quantities and this scale as you grow, and you talk about 10,000 different bins, 100,000 different SKUs, for anybody to fathomably be able to manage that from a human perspective in the time frame that you need to do something to actually make a difference, it would never happen. And I think anybody that would want to take on that challenge and try to do that by themselves as a human, I think, is one probably a very smart, intelligent individual, but also, not making sense to be able to take on that vast amount of data and try and transform it into something that makes sense from a human perspective. So I think what's really exciting about that from a warehouse perspective, if you look at a fulfillment center, a warehouse, you have supervisor, manager, lead, whatever the case may be. Traditionally, they're not coming in as a data person or a data scientist, right? Or anything like that. So when you throw in AI into the mix, as you guys have done with this new release, it makes a lot of sense that it's going to allow them to be more effective at their job. It's not going to take their job away, right? What do you think about kind of that challenge or question that kind of surrounds AI versus, job taking, things like that?
To be honest, we don't talk ROI in this company.
Okay.
At least us, we don't like talking ROI. Mm-hmm. What we talk is very simple. We are going to let you ship more. This doesn't mean you are going to reduce number of employees. This means you can ship more and you can have a competitive advantage against others. Because if you are shipping faster and cheaper than others, the companies are going to go to your direction and you'll just increase your shipments. Right. If I can tell you, average Logiwa customer last year, I was just checking the product numbers before the podcast actually. Yeah. And you compare last year and this year for our existing customers, the volume increase is 75%. Wow. So they increase their orders 75%. Yeah. And they increase their number of users 58%. So number of users for us means employees. Like for me, yes, there is a productivity improvement, but smart companies are using this to do more business with the same resources. Right. This is the new name of the game, actually.
Yeah. I think that makes a ton of sense. And I think even as you touched on there briefly about the labor challenges, it's, there's that question, but then on the real question is where do you find people that actually still want to do this type of work, right? That's the challenge. So, that's kind of what's pushing, the robotics, automation, AI to the forefront, because it's very difficult to find people to do this type of work now. And, it's interesting to see, how AI is coming into play now and taking on some of the roles like you mentioned. And you mentioned in there too that you have some potential projects, AI projects that probably won't have realization for another 10 years. So, talk to us a little bit about, from your perspective, what does that AI timeline look like? Where are we at? What can AI do, especially as, we're implementing AI now and, it's getting smarter, right? It continues to improve itself over, the amount of information that's fed in and the learning and things like that. Where do you see AI kind of leading us, as an industry, maybe as a society as a whole within the next, 5 years and then 10 years, as you mentioned?
I really believe and I really hope we are going to work less and do more job with AI, such as ChatGPT. Let me tell you a story, which I have a son, and he graduated from high school last year. Okay. And I just let him start as an intern in our company for 1 month or so. Yeah. And I assigned him a task, which is finding the ideal customer profile name, such as ICP1, ICP2 for our prospects, right? and I have 4 SDRs. And 4 SDRs in a week can identify 100 ICP1, 4 of them altogether. So I assigned this to my son and I said, hey, man, there are 700 companies. And I was hoping and thinking it's going to take 1 month. So the guy is going to be utilized, right?
Yeah.
I assigned him 700 companies and said, hey, assign their ICP profiles. And 2 days later, he came and he said, I completed. I was like, man, this is serious business. You cannot just flip a coin and like match ICP profiles. He was like, no, I use ChatGPT. What? And then he provided me the prompt and etc. And he was right. Can you imagine? Like, and I am not going to fire people because of this. I am not just going to let them work less and then do more, right? I hope AI is going to take us there. When it comes to warehouses, actually, we are thinking of a big AI machine which runs continuously. And even the moment we have an order, we can do all demand forecasting, identification, batching, grouping. And at that moment, we also know the positions of each employees and their patterns, their skill set, assign it and move forward. So I guess AI is going to take entire planning and coordination for a warehouse, but this is like maybe another 3 or 5 years, to be honest. No one is ready for this, actually. But the other thing is robotics. At the moment, like the efficient robots, like the real-time robotic systems, they are replacing the conveyor belts or the walking distance. They cannot efficiently pick in an e-commerce warehouse. In B2B, they can because the pallet is standard, so they can go and take it. But in e-commerce, the products or SKUs are mixed in the location, so it's still slower than human.
Right.
So most probably within 5 years, we'll see humanoid robots like really picking from the bins and then also packing and etc. It is going to be a game changer. There are some initial projects, but I haven't seen a good one faster than human at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think too that's going to take off, and surprisingly, I mean, I always had the question around humanoid robots. I'm like, we have robots that don't look like humans. They work okay. They do what they're supposed to do. Like, why do we need ones that look like us? I'm not sure, but I did see. I mean, it is, I think, going to take off, as you said, because I saw. I think it was Agility Robotics is opening a new plant, like manufacturing plant, where they're going to use humanoid robots to build the humanoid robots, which is pretty interesting. But I mean, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens over the next couple of years, and I think I agree with you. I mean, we're going to work less, but we're going to be able to move business, I think, faster, right? We're going to be able to get to those potential, like you said, ICPs faster, be able to, get to market faster, potentially all these different things. So it's definitely going to change, I think, the way things evolve, and probably a little more rapidly. And I think we've been seeing that over the last couple of years, that technology has been rapidly evolving even faster. I mean, even like just in our space in general, you look at, something like a ProMat or a Modex a couple of years ago versus, this year. I mean, it's crazy to see the amount of technology, robotics, automation, all different things come into play. So it'd be really interesting to see how that continues to evolve. And before we kind of close out here, I mean, what about from the WMS or fulfillment system side of things? I mean, what do you think the future of that is? I mean, does, as you said, does WMS, you don't like the term WMS, but I mean, does WMS go away completely at some point? It just becomes like a fulfillment system or different types of systems? What do you think?
It's going to take a while because there are these dominant legacy players. So like naming it as a fulfillment platform or solution is going to take a while, but I believe we are going to see 2 segments of WMS, fulfillment systems and traditional WMS, because there is still a need for traditional B2B business. But the good thing is the fulfillment systems can do the traditional B2B fulfillment as well. It's easier than what we are handling at the moment. On the other hand, AI definitely is going to take a lot of initiative there, and we'll see a lot of AI projects, to be honest. And all the WMS already started putting AI into their website after ChatGPT's success last 6 months. Even though they have or not, everyone has AI on their website, definitely. So it's going to be robotics. As I said, I am expecting humanoid robots, different type of robots other than goods to person and conveyor systems. Maybe a little bit more smarter robots are coming into the picture. Also, the technology, the software technology is improving as well. One of the big problems today is not being real time. I mean, all of us saying real time, but if you connect Amazon Shopify, it takes 2-3 minutes. There is a throttling there. So like real time means at the moment, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. But with the new integration technology, most probably within 1 or 2 years, we are going to be really real time between different supply chain systems, which will make us faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that'll be good. I love real time. Definitely, like, always found challenges in my past and working in different warehouses where, we wouldn't see the data set until like the end of the day or the next day. And it's like at that point, like, it's like, I can't make an impact like on what's already happened. Right. So it'd be really great to see that. And I think we'll make a huge difference in terms of improving supply chains around the world and being able to do greater things with our businesses. So Erhan, I want to thank you so much for coming on. If people are interested in learning more about Logiwa, what's the best way to do that?
We have a website and there's a form there. Just contact us and we'll help you.
All right, great. And we'll definitely put that information at thenewwarehouse.com as well, so it's easy to find. So Erhan, thank you once again for your time on the show today.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.